going to do something a little unusual today. I'm going to tell you how to evaluate me, or more accurately, how to evaluate anyone in my role. Any legal recruiter who reaches out to you, pitches you an opportunity, or asks to represent you in the market. Because here's the thing, the legal recruiting industry is not uniformly excellent. There are recruiters who are genuinely valuable to attorneys, who provide real market intelligence, who represent their candidates with integrity, who understand the legal market at a level that makes them true advisors. Then there are recruiters who are transactional, who are primarily focused on a placement fee, who will move you into a position without adequate consideration of whether it's actually right for you. Knowing the difference is your job, and knowing the right questions to ask is how you do it. I'm Andrew Wilcox, legal recruiter since 2003, and this is a lateral brief. Let's talk about how to evaluate people who say they want to help your career. The first question, how long have you been doing this? And specifically in legal. Legal recruiting requires specialized knowledge. The legal market, its economics, its culture, its compensation structures, its politics is genuinely complex and genuinely specific. A recruiter who came from executive search in a different industry and has been doing legal work for 2 years has a fundamentally different level of market knowledge than someone who has spent 20 years exclusively in this space. Experience matters. But it's not just about the years, it's about depth. Have they placed attorneys at the level you're at? Have they worked in your practice area? Do they understand the specific market dynamics of the city or region where you practice? Ask them directly and listen to the answer. The second question, who do you primarily work with? Attorneys or firms? The question reveals an important structural reality. Recruiters are paid by the firms, not by the attorneys. The placement fee comes from the law firm when the hire's made. The economic structure creates an inherent tension. Is the recruiter optimizing for the attorney's best long-term outcome or for the placement that generates a fee? The best recruiters resolve this tension by understanding that their long-term success depends entirely on their reputation, that attorneys who had good experiences recommend them, and attorneys who were pushed into bad fits don't. Their incentive to do right by you is real. But not every recruiter operates with that long-term perspective. Some are primarily relationship managers for law firms, which means their primary loyalty in negotiation or a fit evaluation may not be with you. So ask directly, how do you think about balancing the interests of the attorney and the firm with their intention? Listen for nuance and honesty. Be skeptical of answers that sound too clean. The third question, what does your process look like? And how much do you customize it? There is a category of legal recruiter who operates on volume. They have a database of candidates. They send out candidate profiles broadly to a large number of firms, and they work the law of averages. Some placements happen, then they move on. There's a different category who works deliberately, who has real conversations with attorneys before doing anything, who understands your specific situation and goals, who approaches firm introductions with careful calibration, who knows which firm is right for you, not just which firm has an opening. So ask, before you'd introduce me to a firm, what would you need to know about my situation? If the answer's thin, if they want to get started before they really understand your practice, your priorities, your situation, that's a signal about how they operate. The fourth question, what is your knowledge of the specific market or practice area that I'm in? This is where the difference between generalist and specialist recruiting becomes very concrete. Ask the recruiter to tell you specifically what they know about the market for your practice area in your geography right now. Who's hiring? Who's growing? Which firms are building? Which firms have recently made moves in your space? A recruiter with genuine market intelligence will have specific, current, substantive answers. They'll know things you don't know. They'll be able to tell you about firms that weren't on your radar. They'll have context that makes the conversation immediately valuable. A recruiter without that intelligence will speak in generalities. They'll say things like, there's a lot of activity out there, or, firms are definitely looking for people with your background. Those things are vague enough to always be true and specific enough to tell you nothing. The fifth question to ask: what happens if a move doesn't work out? This is a question most attorneys never ask, and it tells you an enormous amount about the recruiter. Does the recruiter have any stake in your success after placement? Do they stay in contact? Have they ever made a placement not work out? And what was their response to that? Recruiters who are genuinely advisor level will have had placements not work out. I have. Because the legal market is complex, and even well evaluated fits don't always go as planned. And they'll have a real answer about how they handle that. Recruiters who either claim perfect records or have no coherent answer to that question are telling you something about how they view their relationship with the attorneys that they work with. And the sixth question: how do you handle confidentiality? Ask specifically and explicitly. How do you protect the information that I share with you? When would my name be shared with a firm, and under what conditions? What happens to my information if we decide not to work together, or if an introduction doesn't go anywhere? In an industry where confidentiality is foundational, where an attorney exploring the market could suffer real professional consequences if that exploration became known before they were ready. This is not a paranoid question. It's a necessary one. A serious recruiter will have a clear, thoughtful answer. Anything short of that is a problem. So the bottom line: a good recruiter is a genuine asset. Someone who extends your market reach, brings real intelligence, advocates for you in the market, and helps you make a better decision than you'd make alone. I've spent 20 plus years trying to be that kind of recruiter, and I know what that looks like because I've seen the alternative. You deserve the real version. Ask the questions that tell you which one you're dealing with. I'm Andrew Wilcox. This is a lateral brief. If you'd like to have a confidential discussion about your career goals or your practice, please email me at andrew@wilcox-legal.com. And as always, grateful. Andrew Wilcox.